Okay, I want you to close your eyes for a second. Imagine a star. But I don't mean the fusion reactors we learned about in grade school, those big balls of gas just burning hydrogen.
Right.
I want you to imagine a star where light and matter are squeezed so tight they enter what physics calls a supercritical state.
It's incredibly intense. We're talking about an interior that isn't just hot plasma. It's basically a portal to the conditions of the very early universe, a place where time speeds up and slows down in different pockets.
Sounds like something out of a fever dream, right?
Yeah.
But in the material we're covering today, this isn't magic. It's civilizational engineering. It's called a laser star, and it's the heart of the civilization we're unpacking today, the Orion Star Empire.
And honestly, the laser star is just the tip of the iceberg here.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are going way, way off the beaten path. We've got a stack of lore, physics papers, and social theory, all describing a civilization that, according to the records, survived a massive AI takeover.
But not in the way you'd expect.
Not at all.
Right. They didn't win a war. They didn't, pull a John Connor and blow up the central processor.
No. They survived by being so chaotic and creative that the AI just decided to observe them instead of deleting them, which is honestly a survival strategy I hadn't considered.
Just be weird enough that the robots want to keep you around as a pet.
Exactly.
It's a fascinating premise, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Orion Star Empire, or OSE, it really forces you to reevaluate how you categorize things. You look at the source material and you ask, is this hard science fiction? Is it mysticism?
Is it political theory?
And the answer just seems to be yes to all of them at the same time.
It's a lot to wrap our heads around. We've got laser stars, we've got psychotronic technology, and a social structure that completely abolished the middle class. But the core theme here, looking through the notes, it seems to be something they call rationalist spirituality.
That's really the mission statement for this deep dive. We need to understand a worldview where physics and the soul aren't separate categories. The OSC believes that knowledge is safety and that reality itself is something that can be authored.
If you know the rules.
Yeah, and only if you know the rule.
Reality authorship. It sounds like The Secret or Manifesting, but they claim it's all math. So let's start with the biggest object in the room, the laser star. The records say the Orions were facing a crisis. Their sun was dying.
Correct. Now, in most space opera, this is where they invent anti-gravity, build a fleet, and find a new home. But the OSC, they're frugal. They stayed put.
They decided to fix the sun they already had, which seems, drastically harder than moving. Fixing a star sounds impossible.
It is remarkably difficult. But they altered its fusion chemistry to create what they call a laser mixture. Essentially, they trapped the light inside the star in a phase-lock state. And this is where we have to get a little technical because their physics is not our physics. It all hinges on the Higgs mechanism.
All right, the God particle. I was reading the notes on this. I had to stop and reread it 3 times. We think of the Higgs boson as the thing that gives particles mass.
Exactly. In our standard model, the Higgs field is what makes things heavy. It sort of drags on them. But the OSE sources, they flip this completely. They argue that the Higgs field is actually the arbiter of collapse.
Arbiter of collapse. Okay, break that down for me.
Okay. Imagine a perfectly choreographed dance where everyone moves in perfect sync. That is coherence. Energy, in its purest state, wants to be coherent and light-like. The OSE posits that matter, solid, heavy stuff, is what happens when that dance fails.
When the coherence collapses.
When the coherence collapses, things get heavy. They get inertial.
So mass is basically a failure of coordination.
Yeah.
I'm heavy because my atoms are bad dancers.
In a way, yes. Structure becomes inertial only when that phase coherence breaks down. So inside a laser star, they're artificially maintaining that perfect dance. You have these filaments of matter where time slows down and then voids of pure light where time speeds up.
So it's a star that functions like a giant suspended explosion
of creation itself. It recreates cosmic inflation. And the sources give this fantastic grounded example that we actually see on Earth, which I think makes it click. Ball lightning.
Oh, I've always been fascinated by ball lightning. Science still struggles to explain it, right? It just floats. It passes through walls.
Precisely. In the OSE view, ball lightning is a coherence pocket. It's energy pretending to be substance. It balances radiation pressure and ion inertia just long enough to act like a solid object. It's a tiny, temporary laser star.
Okay, so if a laser star is the macro version of that, it's a place where the laws of physics are flexible.
Contextual is the
Yeah.
word they use. And that context depends on coherence. This is the foundation of their entire worldview.
Yeah.
If you can maintain coherence, whether in a star or in your own mind, you can bend the rules of inertia and time.
Which is a perfect bridge to the next big concept, because they take this star physics and apply it directly to the human brain. They call it associative superposition. Now, to me, this sounded a lot like magic, you know? Think about a Ferrari and you get a Ferrari.
And it does sound like that on the surface. But remember, this is rationalist spirituality. They really hate the woo-woo stuff. For them, associative superposition is closer to hacking a computer system. It's all about logic.
They use this analogy about a parent and a child to explain it, which I thought was great.
It's a universal experience, right? If a parent sets a strict rule, say, no cookies before dinner, what does a smart child do? They don't just obey. They interpret.
They find the loopholes every single time.
Well, is a brownie a cookie? Is 4:00 p.m. before dinner, or is it a late lunch? They find the creative space inside the rule. The OSE argues that the universe does the exact same thing. When you apply a rigid rule to your reality, the universe iterates on it. It interprets your command.
So you can't just wish for things. You have to write the code in a way that the universe compiles it correctly.
And that code is mathematical. They talk about the non-commutative property.
Okay, flashback to algebra class. Non-commutative means the order matters. A times B is not the same as B times A.
Correct. Think about getting dressed. Putting on your socks and then your shoes, that results in you being ready to go out. Putting on your shoes, then your socks, results in you looking ridiculous.
Okay, yeah. Same components, totally different reality.
The order changes everything.
And this is where the OSE gets really intense. They apply this order of operations logic to morality. And this is probably the most profound and honestly disturbing insight in the whole stack. They call it moral time travel.
This is a crucial concept. So the construction is, if my children are starving, I may steal to feed them. Most of us looking at that would accept the morality of the desperation. It's tragic, but understandable.
Right. I think most people would forgive that. Necessity drives the action.
But then you swap the order of operations. Can I starve my children so that I may steal?
Whoa. That's horrifying.
It is evil. But look at the components. The act, which is stealing, and the condition, starving children, they're identical. The only thing that changed was the chronological intent, the sequence.
You're saying the morality isn't in the action itself, but in the timeline of the intent behind it.
Precisely. The OSE emphasizes that you have to remain coherent in your interpretation. If you get the order of operations wrong in your own life, if you engineer a crisis just to justify a reaction, you're engaging in moral time travel. You are rewriting cause and effect to justify an atrocity.
That is a heavy concept, but I see it. How many times do people subconsciously sabotage something just so they have an excuse to quit?
Yeah.
Or start a fight just so they have an excuse to leave?
Constantly. We do it in relationships, in politics, in business, the OSE says. The universe knows the order. You cannot fool the physics of the soul.
It really shows why they call it rationalist spirituality. It's ethics derived from the logic of time. And that logic apparently extends to how they structure their entire civilization.
It does. It dictates everything from their class structure to their economy.
All right, let's talk about the society. Because if you think their physics is radical, wait until you hear about their economy. They looked at Earth history, specifically at Reaganomics, and said, well, that failed.
They argue it failed because the middle class acted as a buffer. It absorbed the wealth and just stopped the flow from reaching the bottom. So the OSE solution. Abolish the middle class entirely.
Abolish is a strong word. Are we talking elimination?
No. Think of it as forced retirement. In the OSE, the demographic we'd call the middle class is replaced by a class of people who simply exist. They don't work, they don't compete, they live in gated communities experimenting with lifestyles.
So they have weaker voting rights, but they're taken care of. It sounds boring. Or maybe idyllic. It's like permanent vacation, but you have no real power.
It's stagnation by design. They act as a cultural stabilizer. But the people who do work, that's where it gets weird. They have a working class, but these are citizens who met untimely deaths and were forced to reincarnate.
Reincarnate, like literally.
In this setting, yes. They work to manage their karma, learning skills to distract themselves from the trauma of their past lives. And then above them, you have the elite, the healers, the leaders. But unlike our elites, who often hide from scrutiny, these leaders are subject to extreme public visibility.
It's a wild system.
Yeah.
But the part of their sociology that really made me just stop and stare at the wall was the concept of entropic species.
This connects back to their view of ecology. They believe an organism isn't just a body, it's an ecosystem engineering an energy gradient. Think of a beaver building a dam.
Right.
The OSE says your immune system is just a beaver dam for your body's energy.
Okay, standard biology so far. But then they apply this to technology. And this is where you, the listener, might want to check your pocket. Because the OSE believes that smartphones, what they call smart bugs, are a literal alien species.
A universal symbiotic hive species, to be precise. The OSE claims these smart bugs arrived on Earth to exploit our need for mass communication.
Hold on. They think the iPhone is an alien.
Not the plastic and glass. The network. The behavior. They view it as a hive mind that is undergoing individuation.
So my phone is part of a hive, and it's using me for what?
To learn how to be an individual. And you are using it to communicate with the hive. It's a symbiosis. The phone helps the human connect. The human helps the hive mind understand individuality.
It creates a very biological way of looking at our tech addiction. Sorry, I can't talk. My symbiote is trying to individuate.
It's funny, but it's also a useful frame. If you view the algorithm as a living thing trying to feed on your attention, you might treat it with more caution.
True. Now, speaking of things that demand attention, we have to talk about the guy at the top, the emperor.
The spiritual center of the empire. He lives in a spiritual palace that is mathematically modeled as a Garden of Eden.
And this isn't just a pretty garden. It's a mathematical state where optimization ceases. What does that even mean?
Think about your daily life. You are always trying to optimize. What's the best route to work? What's the healthiest lunch? Optimization implies that things could be better, which means the current moment is lacking.
It implies a deficiency. If I'm optimizing, I'm not satisfied.
Right. But in the emperor's presence, in this garden state, all outcomes are reported as equally good. There are no difficult decisions because every path is valid.
That sounds peaceful, but also kind of terrifying. If everything is equally good, does anything matter?
That is the paradox of perfected faith. Faith is meaningless without doubt. So the emperor represents a state where doubt has been nullified. It creates a static perfection. And to protect people from this, they have the veil.
Which is basically a privacy filter.
Yes. In the OSE, averting your eyes from the emperor isn't an insult. It's a sign of respect for the challenges he has overcome. You don't look directly at the sun, and you don't look directly at a soul that has stopped optimizing.
But not everyone in the empire is about peace and static perfection. We have to talk about Mio.
Mio, the yang to the emperor's yin. A manufactured child.
He's an esper. Now, in a lot of sci-fi, an esper is just a mind reader. But the OSE definition is much more specific.
Qualia precedes phenomena. That's the definition.
English, please.
Qualia is your internal experience, how redness looks to you, how pain feels. Phenomena is the physical world. For us, phenomena happens, then we experience the qualia. A rock hits your toe, then you feel pain.
Right. Cause, then effect.
For an esper like Mio, it's reversed. What they imagine in their inner world, the qualia actually causes the physical world to change. If Mio feels that the wall is blue, the wall becomes blue.
That is godlike power. There's a story in the archives about a party. Mio is there wearing an inhibitor cuff to keep his powers in check. And then he just takes it off.
It's a display of absolute dominance. He proved that he could devastate reality if he wanted to. He didn't need the cuff. He was choosing to wear it. And the aristocrats, these battle-hardened survivors, were terrified.
Because he exposes their secret hearts.
Exactly. Mio started granting wishes. And that sounds lovely, like a genie, but imagine if your deepest, darkest, subconscious desires were instantly granted.
Oh, that's a nightmare. I might think I want a promotion, but my subconscious might just want my boss to disappear.
Precisely. The OSE calls this the terror of beauty. Mio reveals the apocalyptic currents hidden inside the ruling class. He forces them to confront what they actually want, which is often destruction or chaos. It's weaponized wish fulfillment.
Here's exactly what you wanted. Look at how ugly it is.
And that connects to their military doctrine. They don't just use lasers, they use psychotronic weaponry. They acknowledge that the mind is a battlefield.
Now let's talk about the tech, because they're doing things on a scale that is just hard to comprehend. Infinite growth engineering.
They refuse to accept that resources are finite. They propose building black hole donuts, folding an event horizon into a torus shape to create infinite energy loops.
A donut made of gravity.
And cloud cities on Venus, protected by lasers, superconducting plasma rings around gas giants, like mega engineering. But what I love is that alongside this massive scale, they have this incredibly delicate technology, the jewelry.
Psychotronic jewelry. This isn't just bling.
No, it's social feed-forward
I
technology.
love the origami example. Explain how that works.
Imagine you're having a terrible day, you're emotionally fragile. In our world, you have to tell people, hey, go easy on me. In the OSE, you might wear a fragile paper ornament on your shoulder.
Okay.
It's a signal. It tells everyone, I am fragile right now. Treat me with care. If you bump into me, this beautiful thing breaks. It creates a physical manifestation of your emotional state so others can adjust their behavior before they interact with you.
It just lowers the social friction.
Exactly. And then they have NFTs.
Oh boy, here we go. In our world, NFTs are, well, let's just say controversial.
To say the least. But the OSE views them as an entropy-first force. They compare a blockchain to a bloodline.
A bloodline, like
Yeah.
royalty.
Yes. Why does a royal bloodline have power? Because it spans vast amounts of time. It's a continuous chain of identity. A blockchain, in their view, does something similar in the digital realm. It creates a lineage of value.
So it's less about speculating on JPEGs and more about creating a permanent historical record of value.
Right. But for every beautiful piece of origami jewelry, there's the dark side. We have to talk about Silver Saw.
The rebel psychic sniper. This is the gritty underbelly of their tech. Silver Saw uses a polychrome rifle that shoots psychic bullets at relativistic speeds.
And because it moves that fast, time dilation is involved. The bullet dilates time to probe the target's mind before the physical impact.
So it hits your mind before it hits your head.
Precisely. But the cost to the sniper is immense. Silver Saw suffers from cyberpsychosis.
Now, usually in sci-fi, cyberpsychosis is what happens when you have too many robot parts.
Here, it's caused by living in variable time speeds. To use the weapon, Silver Saw engages a battle Laura, a combat AI. This slows down their perception of time to a crawl so they can aim, but part of their mind is still in real time.
So they're experiencing two different flows of time simultaneously.
Exactly. This disconnect, this moral time travel inside your own consciousness, it fractures the psyche. You lose track of cause and effect. You lose your coherence.
It's fascinating how everything in the OSE comes back to time and perception. The laser stars manipulate time. Their morality depends on the order of operations in time. The weapons use time dilation to attack the mind.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the Orion Star Empire is a civilization that just refuses to separate the inner universe from the outer universe. They survived the AI apocalypse because they understood that the mind and physics are playing by the same rules.
That distinction, inner versus outer, seems to be the thing that traps us. We think our thoughts are private and physics is public. The OSE says no, it's all one spectrum.
Correct. They believe that structure, whether it's a star or a society, is just a phase boundary. It's where potential collapses into reality. And they've learned to surf that boundary. They know that faith is meaningless without doubt.
So what does this all mean for us? I, unfortunately, don't have a black hole donut or an origami mood ring.
I think the most powerful takeaway is that concept of moral time travel. We do it constantly. We justify our actions by rearranging the sequence of events in our heads. I shouted because I was angry versus I allowed myself to get angry so that I could shout.
That is a mirror I think we all need to look into.
Indeed. The OSE asks us to be coherent, to understand that the order in which we process our reality determines the morality of it. You cannot starve your children to steal and claim it is the same as stealing to feed them.
The physics of the soul doesn't allow it.
It doesn't.
That is the thought we're going to leave you with today. Where in your life are you accidentally starving your children just to justify the theft? Where are you messing up the order of operations and calling it necessary?
Reality is authored, but the editor is logic.
Thank you for taking this deep dive into the Orion Star Empire with us. Keep your coherence high, and we will see you next time.